This is the iFi Micro iDSD signature DAC amplifier and is a continuation of its predecessor, the Micro Black Label. The list of improvements and new features is extensive, and we're going to cover all of it here on Audio In Reviews. Okay, so before we go over the features and specifications of the iFi Micro iDSD signature, I briefly want to go over the assortment of accessories that they include in the package with it. We'll go ahead and start with the rubber bands. Of course, these are included in case you want to use this as a portable DAC and you want to strap your phone or whatever device you're using to play your music with to the back of that. And they also include this rubber pad to kind of protect the paint on your DAC so you don't mess that up, and also your phone or whatever you're using, a DAP or your phone. They also include this nice black kind of a velvet textured bag. You have a standard a blue USB 3 extension cable for connection with a PC. They also include your standard RCA jacks, a regular USB adapter, a Toslink adapter, and a 3.5 millimeter adapter. And finally, you have a short charging cable, a Type-C charging cable. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the specifications and features of the iFi Micro iDSD signature. Now, as far as design of the iFi, of course, the original Black Label was black, and they have they've changed up the color schemes. They went over to a blue color here, which is very nice. I love the dark blue. It has a little bit of a sheen to it. So, and the iFi logo is more of like a shadow print. It's kind of a dark gray. So the design is quite nice. Now, as far as size, of course, this is marketed as both a portable and a desktop DAC. I did use it as a portable, so I did strap it on to my phone and also a couple of DAPs and went on walks. It is kind of big. It's about the same size as my phone here, so I had it strapped to the back of my phone with the rubber bands. And I had to carry it, couldn't put it in my pocket. It was just weighing my pocket down a little too much. I also took a walk using my Plena 2 MK2 and then my DX160 here. Now, again, even though it's marketed as both portable and as a desktop, it did work as both, but I can't really see, like, if you're someone who lives in the city and you're going out for hours at a time, taking the public transportation, shopping and all that, unless you have some kind of backpack or another way to carry this, it's not just going to easily fit in your pocket. And you may find that most of the time, if you have to hold it in your hand, it is a little big. And but on short little outings, I don't see a problem. When I was on walks, once I got into the music, I was holding this in my hand. After about 5 minutes, I didn't even know I was holding it because, again, it just sounds so good, I would get lost in the music. So for short little outings, it's probably not a problem. I don't know if, some people might be used to it. I've seen people carrying around some pretty big stacks. But I would say generally for most people, it probably wouldn't be practical on long outings. I did also use it as a desktop. Of course, that is perfect for a desktop. It doesn't take a whole lot of space and works just fine for that. Now, as far as the inputs and outputs, of course, we have on the front, we have a 6.3 millimeter full-size headphone jack. We have a 4.4 balanced output, and then we have your charging port type C on the side here, and that is strictly just for charging. Then we have our RCA outputs for powered speakers, and then you also have your optical input here. Then you have your USB input here, like to connect with a PC. Okay, so you have a total of 5 different switches. You have 3 on the side here, and then you have 2 on the front here. We'll go ahead and go over these here. This first button right here is the power mode. So you have Eco, Normal, and Turbo. Generally, when I'm just using IEMs, and that's all of my testing has been done with IEMs, but if you do need extra power, if you have a full-size headphone that requires more power, you can use either the normal or turbo mode. Again, with my IEMs, I kept it on Eco, and that was plenty of power for me. Then you have this middle button here. This is a digital filter offering either standard, minimum phase, or a bit perfect option. Now, from what I understand, the original firmware of this of the micro signature did not support this, but the newer firmware update does. So I did not use this right here. I did not test this out. The last button here on the side, you have a IE match, and which is great because I actually have the Campfire Solaris here, and these are quite sensitive in-ear monitors, so that worked great for me. And of course, I kept that on ultra sensitive, so that's this last setting right here. So you have ultra sensitive, you have high sensitivity, and then off. And again, that would be for your less sensitive in-ear monitors or full-size headphones. So on the front, you have 2 switches here. You have X bass and you have 3D mode. Most of my listening was done with these switches off. I did test them, and there were moments where I turned on the X mode bass and the 3D, and I tell you what, they work really, really well. I tend to stay away from any kind of extra processing, but if anybody can do processing well, it's iFi. These switches, actually, I found them to not really affect the overall sound quality. They did affect a little bit. I'll go over that when I talk about the sound, but these are both well implemented little switches here. The X bass, I think I probably, between the two, spent more time on the X bass. I had a lot of fun with that. That thing really just adds a lot of low end, and so had a lot of fun using those. All right, well, let's go ahead and go over the sound of the iFi Micro iDSD signature. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the sound of the Micro iDSD signature. I apologize for switching up the format on you. I know you're used to seeing my face, but I thought for this particular review, this might be the better way to go. Now, of course, I talked about my IEMs and the sources that I used. I had my Plano 2 MK2, which I used the optical out to test the optical output. I used my DX160 and my phone. Initially, when I got this, I wanted to go on a walk, and I needed to have my phone with me in case my wife needed to contact me. And I thought, well, my phone will give me access to Tidal. I have Tidal Masters, so I can play MQA. I've got Power Amp on there, so I can play all of my my DSD files and my FLAC files. So I thought that'd be fine if I have this. I can test all that. And I was connected with USB, of course. Come to find out, and I don't know if it's an Android limitation across the board or if it was just my S20 Plus, but it would not output MQA through the USB. I had to bypass that by downloading this app called USB Audio Player. So what this app does is it allows me to access all the title music, and it will also bypass whatever that is in my Android phone and allow me to output MQA to the DAC. And so I was very happy when I got that to work. I got the little light to turn purple, so that was good. I was a happy camper once I got that. And again, like I said, I used the Plenty 2 MK2 to test the optical input. And so all of that worked very, very nicely. And now, and of course, just the only reason I have my IEMs out, because you need to know, and I'm sure you already know this, that generally, since all the music is being filtered through, it's the last thing that the sound is filtered through before it hits your eardrum. It's going to color, depending on what IEM or headphone you're using, it's going to color the sound. So it will affect the overall sound signature and even soundstage of the DAC itself. So now, as far as the sound of the DAC, that does have what I would consider a slightly warm sound signature there, because there is a little bit of lower mids and a little elevation in the lower mids and in the mid bass, but just a little bit. As far as treble, the treble is excellent, has really good definition, really good extension. I would consider it somewhat relaxed, but it's still very, very engaging. Has excellent detail, clarity, plenty of air in live recordings. As far as the mids do have somewhat of a neutral presentation, but they still feel very natural and organic. And again, we talked about how this has that warm sound signature, so you do have a slight elevation in the lower mids, and so again, it gives that sense of warmth and gives notes just really good weight. It has really good weight to notes. The mids are dynamic, they have great transparency and clarity. The bass, again, you do have a little bit of a, with that warm sound signature, you have the mid bass is slightly elevated, just ever so slightly. But the bass frequencies as a whole kind of sound overall, again, more of a little bit warm, but kind of a neutral presentation. The extension, the bass extension is excellent, has excellent texture, layering, and slam. And of course, you have the X bass button if you want to add a little more sub bass and bass. But again, you do sacrifice a little bit of definition and speed if you do decide to use that X bass. But in exchange, you get a very, very fun experience with the bass. And again, we talked about how the IEMs can affect the soundstage and imaging of the DAC. If you have IEMs or headphones that have good imaging, this will give you good imaging. If you have a headphone or an IEM that has a wide soundstage, this will give you that wide soundstage. So it depends on what you have this paired with. So really, the bottom line is this thing is a super, super powerful DAC that works well with almost any headphone and any IEM. You have tons of different sound signatures that you can mess with. So it's just an overall, this thing is a solid release from iFi. So I think this thing is just excellent. So, and I want to thank iFi for supplying this unit. I have had just a ton of fun with this, and again, this is a solid piece of equipment right here, and I would recommend this to anyone. So I want to thank my subscribers. For all of my new viewers, I want to say thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe, please share this video, please like this video. You guys have an awesome day. We'll see you next time.